One, two, three.
Okay, hello, my name is Milton L.Staley. I prefer to be called Milt.
Where and when were you born?
May 31st, 1919 in Minnesota.
So how old are you right now?
98.
Do you feel like you're 98?
Some days. No, really, I don't.
Physically, what is it like to be 98?
Well, I have problems. I like everybody that's old, but to me, age is relative. You live your life, and I'm always optimistic. I don't dwell on the past.
What branch of the service were you in during World War II?
Infantry, Army.
What specific units were you in during your time in combat?
Well, in the South Pacific, where I was first, I was with the 172nd Vermont National Guard, and our ship was sunk. We were headed for Guadalcanal, and after 5 months, we finally got up to Guadalcanal.
Did you see combat on Guadalcanal?
No, when I got up there, I had malaria and everything. The war on the Guadalcanal was practically over, and we went in the jungles where there was Japanese, and captured the ones that we could. And then I was in a hospital there for a month, I think.
What other units were you in?
Well, I was in, like I say, the 172nd, which was a part of the 43rd Division. And then I was in, before I went to Europe, I was in other places after I got out of the hospital.
When it comes to Europe, what division, regiment, and company were you in?
I was in the same one on the D-Day. My regiment was attached to the 4th Division, and we spent 5 days with the 4th Division, and then I went back to the 90th, and I was the 90th till I was released on their point system on April 2nd, 1945.
So tell me, during your time in Europe, what division, regiment, and company were you in?
I was all the time from D-Day, except for the 5 days with the 4th. I was with the 359th Regiment of the 90th Division, Company L.
And what was your specific role in Company L?
Company L was a light weapons, light mortars, and machine guns company. I ended up as the platoon sergeant. 44, I had 44 men under me.
Talk to me about the role of a platoon sergeant in combat.
Well, in combat, as a platoon sergeant, you had a section of half machine guns and another half of mortars, and you had 2 staff sergeants ahead of with you, and you saw that where they took their men with their machine guns and the mortar, and that was about it.
Were you ever wounded in combat?
I was wounded twice. First time on June 11th, which wasn't anything serious, shrapnel in my legs and whatnot. And then I was wounded November 11th, and I ended up in the hospital on that one.
Where were you wounded on November 11th?
I had I got shrapnel yet on my back, and I had shrapnel in my jaw on my right side, and just light mortar shrapnel.
What was the highest award for valor you received?
Silver Star.
And the action in which you received the Silver Star for, where did that take place?
That was a small town near Hamburg, Germany. I don't know the name of the town. There was a village nearby, and we were out in the field near it. We weren't in the village.
You also received a Bronze Star.
2 Bronze Stars.
Do you know what the specific action that you received the Bronze Star for was?
Well, the first Bronze Star I received it when it was on June the 12th, and we had trouble, and I wasn't a platoon sergeant then, and I took over the machine guns, and so they gave me the Bronze Star for that.
And the second one?
The second one, I don't recall exactly when. It was in September, and we were out of ammunition, so they sent me took 2 other guys to go and join up with one of our other companies, and so one of them got shot through the thigh, and I got across. There was a ditch we had to cross, and I'm on the other side, and I contacted the other company, and so they got my company back together and got ammo from them.
What happened to the man who was shot?
I imagine he went back to the hospital because we had so many casualties. They would leave, and I don't know where they would go. Yeah, we had, on September, 1st of September, there was only 2 original guys in my platoon that landed on D-Day.
What happened to the rest of them?
They were all either killed or wounded, and sent. A lot of them ended up in England.
What was the highest rank you achieved by the time you left the service?
Tech sergeant. That's as high as you could go, and a platoon sergeant. But I was a platoon leader from January till I was discharged. We didn't have an officer, so I had the platoon myself.
So, you were born in Minnesota?
Correct.
Did you grow up there?
I grew up there. Grand Rapids. That's where I was. That was a hospital, the nearest one. But I was going to a little village named Pengilly.
Talk to me.
That's okay, just put them over there.
You're doing great. Mr. Staley, talk to me about growing up in Minnesota. What kind of things did you do for fun as a kid?
Well, as a kid, my mother died when I was 2.5 years old. My dad raised 3 boys. I'm the youngest of the 3, and we lived on a 40-acre farm, small farm on a lake named Swan Lake. So we had a good life. We swam in the lake, and fished and hunted, and we had a very good life, I think.
Talk to me about the struggles of growing up during the Great Depression.
Well, that was really bad because we didn't have any money. one thing we did, we ate good because we raised our own cattle and the pigs, chickens, and everything. So we ate plenty of eating, but for like salt and sugar and things like that, it was hard to come by. A loaf of bread was 9 cents, but we made biscuits ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper.
Did your brothers see combat in World War II?
You know, my brother Vernon, the one next to me, landed at 2 a.m. on near St. Mariglis. And, he directed fire for the USS Nevada. It was 5 of them that landed that morning, and he and a lieutenant from Michigan, only 2 that survived. I was real proud of him.
Did you guys talk about the war after the war with one another?
Not very much. Very, very little.
But your oldest brother didn't go overseas?
No. My brother?
Your oldest brother?
My oldest brother was in the Marine Air Corps, and he was a mechanic, and my 2 brothers met on Okinawa. Very, very unusual.
Mr. Staley, what did you want to do with your life before the war broke out?
I always wanted to be a history teacher. After I got out of school, I graduated from high school in 1937. That's a long time ago. And so there was, I lived with a mining country up there, iron ore, and most of the guys after school went to work in the mines, but I didn't want that. So.
How did you hear about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
Well, strange enough, my dad and I were having lunch on that day, and we had the radio on, and we heard about what had happened. And the next day, I got in touch with the named Red Jones. He was a coordinator or something for recruiting, and I went, took a physical, and they turned me down because I wore glasses. And so I went down to Los Angeles, and I was working in a little hamburger shop, and my dad called me, and he said, I got a letter here from the government. I said, open it. He opened it, it says, greetings. So I hitchhiked back to Minnesota, and on April something or other, I was in Fort Snelling, and I became an Army man.
You were drafted?
I was drafted.
Even though you tried to get in yourself?
Yeah, well, they turned me down. I was 4F because of glasses, and then they decided I could see. A lot of guys were that way.
You contacted the recruiter the day after Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Why?
To tell him I wanted to go.
Why?
I just felt that I wanted to serve my country again.
How old were you?
Oh, must have been 18 or 19, something like that.
Before we move on, I have a couple more things I want to go over about your childhood. What were the first few jobs you had growing up?
Growing up? Well, I worked, I spent a year in the CC camps, civil compensation. When I spent a year in that, which gave me good training, I knew how to make a bed. Everything was run by the military, and so it helped me a lot.
Where did the CCC send you?
Well, they had a lot of CC camps right near where I was born and raised. My dad had in charge of 5 different CC camps. My brothers both were in the CC camp too.
Were there any other specific instances, things that you saw or heard around you that really made you realize there's a Great Depression going on?
Well, everybody, all my friends and everything, as soon as they heard that war had broke out, they all signed up, and I was in a very small village, and you felt slighted if your buddies all went, and so everyone that could, signed up to go serve, and quite a few of them for the size of the village never returned home. I was one of the lucky ones. Oh well, because we didn't have no money even for clothes, and I know we spent many a time we didn't have electricity or anything, and we would darn our own socks in the winter, and it was really tough. My dad cut wood and sold it, and summer raised a garden, and he sell like corn and stuff for, I guess, 10 cents a dozen, and it was, we never had any toys, because my dad was a now educated man, very smart man though, very wise, and he worked to get money by, like I say, cutting and selling wood, and in summer raised a garden and sold gardens, things like that. So it was really hard growing up during the Depression. We had to go to school with holes in our pants, and us country kids, they made fun of us, because of the clothes we had, but we did all right.
Mr. Staley, you talked to me about, the Depression. What high school did you go to?
WWII in Coleraine, Minnesota.
Did you go steady with anyone growing up?
No. I mean, girls? No.
Did you date?
Well, yeah, I grew up a mile from my wife, and so we knew each other, and she waited for me. He took come out of service, and after we got out, we got engaged, and we're married November 3rd, 1945.
What kind of things did teenagers do back then for date nights?
Mostly swimming in the summer, winter skiing, and things like that, outdoor activities. There was, if you're lucky, you could go to a movie, cost you a dime.
When you were a teenager and you and your buddies would get together, what kind of mischief would you get into?
I would hate to tell you, we put a lot of gray hairs in my dad.
Like what?
Oh, there would be blackbird mixed with the chickens, so my brother takes a gun to shoot the blackbirds and kill about 10 or 12 chickens, and my dad was not very happy. And we used to put logs across the road, dirt road, cars come down, we had the road blocked up, and we were hiding in a cornfield. Another thing we'd do, we'd have a purse on a string and put it in the road. When a car come along, when they stop, we'd pull it away and go in the lake. It was by the lake, and they'd be mad. It was one of my favorite tricks.
On Halloween, what kind of pranks would you guys pull?
Oh, tip over toilets. That was the big thing.
You mean outhouses?
Outhouses, yeah. Oh, everything was outhouses in them days. Yeah, we tipped over a lot of them. And one of them, the guy had a store, and they was Wiley, and we tipped him over. He was in there, and they knew who did it because we were the only kids around. We'd took my granddad's wagon apart and ran up with he had a flagpole that was full of flag. We took and put the wagon up on the flagpole. He was not very happy about it.
How'd you put a wagon on top of a flag?
We worked hard. We had a rope to pull it up. And we also put another, I think it was a wagon on a schoolhouse. It was a small village. We had the school. Went to the 6th grade, and there was about a total, about 25 kids at the most.
Did you ever soap any windows?
We soaped a lot of windows, and unfortunately, by throwing stuff, we broke a few of them too. Yeah, we just kids playing, but when you broke a window, they were not happy because, they didn't have money to replace them.
So, going forward, Mr. Staley, you tried getting into service, and they said no. Why did that make you go to California and work in a burger shop?
No, I worked in a hamburger place. Actually, what I did, I was a dishwasher.
But why? I mean, why?
Because I figured that when I went to L.A., I went to every branch of service to volunteer, and they knew I was 4F. They wouldn't do nothing. They wouldn't take me.
But why did you go to California in the first place?
Well, the reason I went there is because, I'd been there before hitchhiking. I just figured that it was warmer and that I could, if I couldn't get the service, I would be able to get a job. So I hitchhiked out there and got a job before, white glasses mostly. And then when I say with my dad, I kept in touch with him, and he sent me and called me and said about receiving the letter from the government, and then I went back home.
So moving forward, you get drafted eventually.
Yeah.
Where did they send you to where did they send you for training?
To Fort Snelling. I went to Fort Snelling where they enlisted me, and then they sent me to Camp Roberts in California here.
Take me through a typical day of basic training.
Well, we did a lot of marching, and we'd go out of Camp Roberts. It was, and they didn't even have machine guns or enough rifles. Our machine gun was like you put a sticker thing or a card on a bicycle for click, click, click. And that was our training.
How did you end up with the Vermont National Guard?
Well, after I came out of Camp Roberts, they sent us to Fort Ord. And then from Fort Ord, they told us that we were going to go overseas. And so we went, I don't remember at L.A. Harbor, and we had winter clothes on. And after we got on board the President Coolidge, we thought, we're going up into the above Alaska. And after a couple of days at sea, they issued us Cheetos, summer clothes, and then we knew we were going to the South Pacific.
And what did you think about that? That you'd be fighting against the
Oh,
Japanese?
no, we were happy. You go down in the South Pacific and cold up in the Aleutians, up in Alaska. So
What was the USS Coolidge?
it was a cruise ship, made Los Angeles and the Orient. And then they converted it over into a troop ship. And when we were going to the South Pacific, there were 5,300 and some personnel on board. And there was the 172nd, and we had some, I guess they were CBs, and didn't have any women that I recall.
And where was your destination?
We didn't know. And I know we were at sea a few days. This was, we left on October 6th, 1942. And we stopped by an island, and 3 planes took off. And we thought, well, wonder what their enemy or what. And they flew and made a circle around their ship and then disappeared back to the island. I never did know what island it was. None of us did.
How did you pass your time on the ship?
Oh, we sat up on the deck playing cards, used matches for, we didn't use money. We used matches and played poker, mostly.
And take me through what happened to the Coolidge.
On the ship, well, we ended up off the harbor in New Caledonia, and they wouldn't let us go on shore to Noumea, was a town on New Caledonia. The Marines had been there on a R&R, and they raised so much heck. They said we don't want any more Americans on the island. So we stayed there for 2 days, and next morning we were at sea again, and we had no idea where we were going. I'd never heard of Guadalcanal or any of them. So, but the word got out. Then days they didn't have any. Everything was by message, or and so it was hard. It was never kept up, and so when we got up sea, went down to get a shower the morning of the 26th. They went alphabetically, and I had to go down. We were up in the top deck. I don't know which one, how you call it, but I can't remember. And I saw land, and that's when we entered the harbor at Luganville when it was sunk.
What happened to the ship?
Well, what happened, there was 2 entrances into Luganville where we were stopped to give some material for number 1 Jimmy Roosevelt. Raiders were down there from the canal, and we had stuff for them. And we, unknown to us, our mine layer ship mined one entrance, and we took the wrong one. And so I was up on the front stern of the boat, sitting. We had 105 guns up, 2 of them, one in front, one in the back. And we hit the mine. Gee, I wonder what the heck is going on. And I went flying off in the deal, and Then we hit the second mine as the ship swung around, and then everything was chaos. I couldn't get back up to my room, so I was in shorts. And then we realized that we'd hit mines, but we didn't know they were ours till after we got on shore.
And how did you guys get off the ship?
Well, they had the ladders down. It took 45 minutes for it to sink into the water. The captain steered the ship into shore as far as he could. There was coral. The front is about 50-something feet, and the back, the stern was about 245 feet down. And when I went down, I just swam till I could walk. And, I helped some of the guys get in. They lowered the boats. They had all the ships had the small boats to go on. But then after you got out, like on the picture shows, they walked to shore. And I remember cutting my feet on coral. So, I had a medic from, there was CBs on there, not too many of them, and they had a medic, and he bandaged up my feet. So we're on this island, no food, no clothes, nothing. So till they got us some, we would go up to Roosevelt's, where Jimmy Roosevelt was, and they gave us canteen cups, and mostly we had soup. They had a big barrel of going for soup until we got our own. We'd send the natives up the trees to get coconuts.
What happened to all your belongings?
They're still on the ship. And the thing that made me mad was when we were in San Francisco, I'd bought a new wristwatch, and it's still on board. I tell the guys when you go diving, if you see a wristwatch, that's mine.
But Mr. Staley, if the captain was able to beach the ship partially, why would it sink if some of it was on land?
Because a big hole from the mine in the stern of the ship, the engine room, that's where there was only 2 lives lost. The one that shows Elwood, the one that is on Facebook now, and the other was one of the engineers down in the boiler room where the mine hit. So he was court-martialed. Excuse me. He was court-martialed, and they claimed that when we left Nomi, a lieutenant had gave him orders, which entrance into the harbor at Luganville, and he said that was not true, and he was, like I say, court-martialed, but they didn't do anything about it. They said he was innocent, and after the war he went back, still captain of cruise ships. His name was Captain Nelson.
Do you think it was his fault?
It wasn't his fault.
What do you believe? Whose fault was it?
We don't know, but from what we saw, we knew it wasn't his fault, because nobody would have ran a ship of that size up in this narrow channel if you had any idea that there'd be mines laid, especially by our own mine layers. And we could see the ship that laid the mines that were not, it was still in that area. And they were flashing lights to try to get us to stop. And so the only thing that why they what the court martial was, and he went in there too fast, number one, and when a couple other ships were given a signal to stop, he didn't do it until it was too late. So,
And who were the 2 lives that were lost?
Elwood and he was the one that's the monument that when I went back in
But what was his job on the ship, Elwood?
he was in charge of the food and everything. I don't know what you call him. That was his job, charge of the dining room.
Where was he when he...
Well, there's 2 stories about him. They say that he had left the ship and went back to help some of the guys off the ship, and he couldn't get back off in time before it sunk. But my version of it is, and the guys who were with me, we saw him trying to get out to one of the manholes, the lights, and he was in there, half his body, and we just stood there and looked, and the ship was almost flat. Nobody would go to help him because they couldn't. They'd go down with the ship. So that's what some of us saw, and other ones said that he went back to help some of the guys out there, which to me was not true.
So that's the first casualty, and who was the second casualty?
I think his name was Johnson. He was one of the engineers down in the boiler room, and I don't know what happened on him.
But you actually saw the other one.
I saw him go down with the ship, and I was standing in the water looking, and the guys are hollering at him, and he was moving. He had his arms out, and he was hollering, to help, but nobody would do it because the ship was almost level, and if you'd went to help him, you would have been gone with the ship.
So what island were you guys on now?
Espirito Santos, which is now the country is Vanuatu, Vanuata.
But back then it was kind of like a base.
Yeah, it was one of our bases for coming down from Guadalcanal.
And so after Espirito Santo, I'm assuming all of your guys, weapons went down with the ship as
Everything,
well.
Yeah.
So after Espirito Santo, how did you guys get equipment back?
Oh, we had to wait till they brought it in from, I think, New Zealand or Australia, one or the other. And and so on the island that after we got on there, we spent 5 months on there. The guys were jungle trained, and after we landed, a week went by. They said, "Any of you guys truck drivers?" So I held up my hand. I'm a truck driver, so I drove truck.
Were you?
Yeah, I'd driven truck before.
And so, how long were you driving trucks?
Most of the time that we were there on the island, which was for near 5 months, and then they loaded us up. We were headed for, as I found out later, to relieve the 164th Division. And,
from North Dakota.
Yeah, and very good division. And they say by the loss of that ship that the war would lasted 5 months earlier in the Solomons if we had lost our ship with all the equipment on it. It's now one of the largest scuba diving attractions. I guess, in the world. So they say.
So, Mr. Staley, take me through how did you get out of the Pacific? What happened to you?
Well, after I got up to Guadalcanal, only right after, within 2 to 3 weeks on Espirito Santos, I came down with hepatitis, and I scared the devil out of me. I looked as I went to pee and it come out like chocolate. I thought, what the devil is this? So they had a little hospital there, and they treated all they had mostly was sugar. They didn't have, and then they had something else that they gave for hepatitis. So I should never they should never have sent me up to Guadalcanal because I was so weak that we had to climb up ladders to get on this ship. I can't remember what you call them right now. And,
Cargo net?
Huh?
The cargo net?
Yeah, we use the cargo net
To get onto the landing ship tank?
Yeah, to get up onto the ships that take us to Guadalcanal.
The LSTs? Were they
No,
called LCI?
Liberty boat. That's what Liberty ship. That's what I was trying to get. Yeah, so anyway, I know it took us 3 or 4 days to get up to the Guadalcanal, and then we had tents. I think they were all already there from the 164th, and the 180th Division was there too. And they messed up big time. They demoted a lot of their officers because they were firefighting with each other. It was a mess. And that's why I think, in my mind, I ended up in Europe. Well, I'll go back to when I left Espirito Santos, went up to Guadalcanal. Then I got malaria and I had hepatitis. So they were waiting in a hospital plane at DC-3, came into Henderson Field, and they put me and 2 or 3 other guys on it, and flew me down to Efate, E-F-A-T-E, which is the capital of NU2 now. And when I left, I weighed 112 pounds. And then when I got down to Efate, I went down to 110. And the hospital's still there, the building, when I went back. And I know I went by there, were having a shortage of beds because they were coming out of Solomon so fast, many people. And they were by my bed. They said, well, what I heard was, this bed will be empty by morning. I thought to myself, no damn way. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be here. And then the hospital ship came up from the Dixie, came up from Auckland, New Zealand. And I went down to spend a month in Auckland, New Zealand, in the hospital. Wonderful place. The people were so good, you wouldn't believe. And weekends they'd come with a basket full of sandwiches and fruit and adopt a soldier for a day. And I loved it, people that was there.
So moving forward, you get sent back to the States after New Zealand?
Yeah, I came back and I was in the hospital in San Francisco. And then they said, well, we'll transfer you to a hospital. You guys from the north would go to, I think Grand Rapids, Michigan or Memphis, Tennessee for the Southern. Well, I ended up in Memphis, Tennessee. So, and after I got well enough, they released me, and I went to, I can't think of a camp in Mississippi. And we were out on doing training, and I was sitting on a log, and the first lieutenant came up, sat beside me, and he says, "I hear you in the South Pacific." I said, "Yes, sir." And he says, "Yeah, I was down in the South Pacific too." And I said, "Oh," I said, "What division?" He said, "The 180th." And I said, "Oh, that division that really screwed up." Big mistake. Because the next day I found my ass headed for Camp Dixie and over in Europe. I still say that he's the one that, I'm telling him about it like that. I didn't know that he'd been a major, but he got demoted. So I opened my big mouth at the wrong time, the wrong guy.
And you think he sent you for overseas duty?
Yeah, I think he's the one, because they called out 50 guys, and they had them, and finally they come out. I was the last one named. I know the guy was reading out the names that were going to be shipped out. They told us it'd be Fort Leavenworth. And after most of them, they called my name. So I know that he's the one that did that, put me on there. Because they ended up in Europe.
Moving forward, you get sent overseas to England.
Yes.
And talk to me about the preparation you all made for D-Day.
Well, we were up, we landed in Liverpool, and we went down, I don't know, 50 miles or so in a camp in a forest lake, and we was training, and most of the guys says, "Oh, we'll never see combat," but because of the, I don't know why, and anyway, we got called out, and General Bradley came and addressed us and told us, well, we were going to make history and how honored we should be that we're going to be going landing on France on D-Day. Now, my brother, Eisenhower himself, talked to the paratroopers before the day, D-Day, and told them where they were headed for. And that was supposed to be June 5th. Because of the weather, delayed it a day, as you all know.
So take me through your regiment. What was your regiment supposed to do on D-Day?
Was supposed to support the 4th Infantry Division. The 357th and the 359th both went in on D-Day in support of the 4th Division. And we stayed with them till the 11th of June, and then went back to the 90th where I was till the war ended.
So take me through your experiences during the invasion.
Well, on D-Day, something you'll never forget. Unbelievable. The sky was full of planes and ships as far as you could see. And when they let us off, the tide started to come in, and the guys were in water up, I was almost 6 feet then, and a lot of them had to drop their weapons and whatnot because, they had to swim, and we went up on a sandy beach, and we were iron for one, and there was the dirt would fly up, and we didn't know what it was, but it was snipers shooting, and lucky I don't know if any of them got. We didn't lose any men anyhow.
Around what time did you hit the beach?
I think it was about my company being a late one. We went in about 3 hours before the rest of them did because they needed the machine gun and light mortars. I think it was around 1 o'clock, as I remember.
In the afternoon?
In the afternoon, yeah.
And tell me, what did Utah Beach look like?
Oh, it was where we landed. There was nothing there. This was sandy beach where we were. And that evening, they called my company, and they said that there was 300 Germans in a forest area. And so they brought up 2 tanks, and they put us on the tanks. We got down the road, and the first tank hit a mine, tipped over, so they aborted that mission. And from then on, we just kept going.
Talk to me about the naval bombardment during the invasion.
Yeah,
what do you remember about the naval bombardment?
There's still a story about that. I told you about my brother directing fire for the USS Nevada. Well, when I was back there 3 years ago or so, my Vinny Ori, and they researched, and here's this great hole out in the field, and they put me in a Jeep, and the Jeep stopped in the middle of it. He said, "You know what this is?" I said, "Yeah, it's made by one of the large guns from the ships." And they said, "This here was called by your brother from the U.S. Nevada." And so I got a picture of me in the Jeep in that, where the ship. So I told my brother about it after the war. I says, "You guys, you called in for fire?" And he said, in his excitement, they have a code. If you want it for one ship or something, you call it a code. Well, he called the wrong one, and about 5 ships started to land and put the guns in. And I told him, I said, "You almost killed my guys." I said, "Me too, your brother." I teased him about it. And so after I go forward now to when I went back, and they said, "You know what this is?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "We did research. You know who called the fire for this, where this artillery landed?" I said, "No, that's before." I didn't talk to my brother then. They said, "That was your brother." I said, "Oh, thanks for." So.
Is your brother still alive?
No, they're both dead. I'm the youngest of my family.
So tell me, what do you remember about the naval bombardment before you guys landed on Utah?
Well, you could see it, and then you could see the planes strafing along the beach. And
American or German?
American. Yeah, I was strafing the Germans, especially on Omaha. See, my company, I don't know, maybe the whole regiment, we landed a mile off where we were supposed to. We landed, my company, almost into the landing for Omaha Beach. We were very close to it, so it was kind of messed up.
What was going on in your head before you were about to land on the beach? This was going to be your first real taste of combat. What were you thinking about?
I wanted to get off that darn landing craft LCI get on shore because our artillery was, Germans were with their artillery, and we were going back and forth, zigzagging around, trying to give space for us to go on shore. And all I remember was, let's get off this thing and get to shore. And so when they landed, like I said, the water was so high, some of the guys, the shorter guys, went underwater even. And so it worked out all right, of course.
Did you see the German artillery firing at the other ships?
No, you could see the artillery coming, but not the guns. They were, some of them, 4 or 8 miles back.
Did you see other American ships getting hit by the German artillery?
The only one was, I can't remember, I knew the name, but I don't recall. It was what the 357th. That ship was hit, but we saw quite a few tenders where they had small boats that would go to shore. I saw quite a few of them get blown up, but really not too many.
What did it look like when they would get hit?
Well, just seen one of my, I can recall it, and a shell hit, and the whole ship blew up. There was parts of the ship flying all around, or the boat, it wasn't the ship. And so we said, oh boy, we want to get out of here and get to shore.
Were you guys taking on fire yourself?
Pardon?
Was your boat taking on fire?
No, that's why we were dodging around. A lot of shells came around, but we were very, I guess, lucky or something that our craft didn't get hit.
And you mentioned you saw a craft of the 357th get hit?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that?
I think the name of the ship was the Anthony. That's the one that got blown up after most of the 357 left the ship, and they were headed to the beach. And that's why I think they attached the 57th and the 59th to the 4th Division. And for them 5 days, we were headed for Cherbourg.
All right, Mr. Staley.
Yes.
Take me through your first experience taking on enemy fire after you made it on the beaches.
Well, after this episode with the tanks, we started, there was a road going parallel to the beach, and there was soldiers laying beside the road, and I found out they were 35th Division. And it's strange because during the Battle of the Bulge, it was, snow and cold, and here was these soldiers laying there. What division, you guys? 35th. I said, holy cow. Last we seen you was on D-Day, evening of D-Day. And they said, you guys will never get through. But I had to go way ahead to the Bulge. But it was that. The second night, we went into the 82nd and dug foxholes in behind the church. Have you been to St. Margaret? No, well and back. There they dug their foxholes behind the cathedral. And I don't know what time it was at night. We could hear an airplane coming, and everything was messed up. Attached bayonets, and prepared. The Germans were attacking, and everything. It was kind of messed up. Well, This was about 10 or so, and we had our bayonets attached, the guys in the rifle, and one kid put his in a foxhole with the butt down, with his bayonet still attached. So when the shells started coming down, we all ran in these foxholes that the second dug, and he got impaled. He didn't think about it was kind of dark, and the bayonet went in his groin, came out his rear end. He's hollered, and we couldn't help him. And that was just that one bomb, that was it. And so next morning, we gathered, and our job was to go to the streets and check on the buildings for any Germans or wounded.
What about the man who impaled himself? He didn't die?
No, they, that was the second deal about getting through the grind. No, they sent him to England, to a hospital in England. He never came back. I know it was the afternoon of D-Day, I think, before we were going to the tanks. As we got up and left the beach, there were quite a few dead Germans, snipers. And when we left, and the night before we left England, our company commander, he said, there will be no prisoners taken by this company. Well, after about, we were in the hedgerow area, and here comes a captain, I can't think of his name now, but he had about a 17-year-old kid. It was a sniper, and they shot each other in the arm, and we said, hey, Captain, what'd you say about taking prisoners? He didn't say very much.
Talk to me about your first experience in a firefight.
I know we were in so many. I don't know. I believe me, when I should never be here. I mean, if you tell somebody that you were laying on a hill and the Germans opened up with machine guns, the guy to my left, we were laying on a side hill. There was a creek down there dried with the bushes, and the Germans waited till we got down halfway, and they say he had about 8 bullets in him. There was dirt flying in my face. The guy on the other side of me, he was killed, and out of I think there was 11 of us. There was on that hillside. I'm the only one that got out of there. The rest of me, they got killed or wounded. And that was just one. It went on like all that. When I was wounded on November the 11th, and same thing, I mean, the people was just here Thursday from Michigan. His dad was he and I were staff sergeants together, and he found out he's been here. His name was Burley, and his dad said I saved his life. Well, I've had 4 of them say that. So they came out, whatever. Their son is going to UC Davis. They're from Michigan.
And take me through, how did you save his dad's life?
Huh?
How did you save his dad's life?
Well, when he was wounded, when there was in the snow up there, yang, and cold, he was a machine gun. He had the machine guns and I had the mortars. And so the guns froze up. So I went down and brought him up where I was. And he was wounded. And I thought his whole shoulder was blown away. And there was a lot of fire coming in. And the other one was our platoon sergeant Fenimore. and he got wounded the same thing. And I had the guys, we patched them up. All I had was sulfa, and we made a hammock like they got some small trees, and I sent him across the field, and he didn't get halfway there, and mortar shell came, and they brought him back. He was wounded again. Now, after the war, he had 4 kids, and I tried to get a hold of him, and he's another one that said I saved his life. Well, I didn't save his life because they're alive. I just patched them up. I did a lot of patching guys up. And I don't know, when I was in the CCs, we learned about medical and stuff. So,
can you talk to me about the kind of wounds you would encounter and how you would address that wound?
well, I'll tell you about one story. I've never told anybody this, that we had John Hammond was a platoon sergeant, and we're on a patrol, and a German sniper shot him twice, and I helped him. We got rid of the sniper, to make us long story short. And I go up to John, and I held his head up, and he looked at me. It's something you'll never forget. And he said, "Milt, I'm going to make it." His guts were hanging out. I think he lost one leg. The other one he was shot so many places that he died in my arms. And so when I went over there, I found his grave. And my French friends, they put flowers on it. They adopted his gravesite. So that was one of them, about the worst that, you could eat sandwich with dead Germans or your buddies and never bothered you. You just, day to day, and you just, if I'm wounded, okay. If I don't, or killed, you had no choice.
What was his name?
John Hammond.
Can you tell me a little bit about him? What kind of person was he?
He was a very quiet, heck of a good soldier. The guys all loved him. He was a big man. He was maybe over 6 feet and athletic type guy, kind of quiet. And I just told him that we became friends. I was staff sergeant, he was a tech sergeant at that time.
Where was he from?
Southern Minnesota. That's one thing we kind of bonded, being from the same state. Now Burley, the one his dad was just here, our son rather, is from Michigan. And he found out some guy in one of the towns there was talking to his dad, and his dad was telling him, about when he got wounded, that they bumped me. He said, the sergeant, he says, I don't remember his name, but he said that he was in charge of the mortars. So they found through Norm. That's how I got to meet the family. Norm looked it up, and so I got in touch with the Burleys, and I've been friends with them ever since.
When it came to John Hammond,
Yeah.
Where were you guys when this happened?
You mean, well, we were out in the woods. We took all these villages. I never even knew till after I had the platoon where they didn't mean nothing. I never even knew where we were at. A sniper shot him, but artillery came in. remember I just told you his guts and his legs and everything. And so, but he died before, from the sniper wound, as I remember it.
So he was wounded from a sniper,
Yeah.
but also from artillery.
Yeah, and then when the artillery came, it just blew him apart, landed right beside him. And but he looked at me, he recognized me, and you know, I always remember that. After the sniper shot him, then the artillery started coming in, and after, well, there wasn't that many shells, then I went over to him, and that's when I went and I went to help him, but there's nothing I could do.
How long did he last?
Oh, maybe 10 minutes or so, very short time. He looked up at me and said my name, and he said, "No, I'm going to make it, Milt." And then he just died, and so I just let him down and started back in the combat again.
What about the sniper?
Well, we took care of him. That's all I'll say. Yeah, I did personally, but the guys did. Well, he was in a tree. Well, there was actually two of them, but they'd already got the one, and the other one that I don't know, one of the two that shot John. And so,
moving forward, Mr. Staley, can you talk to me? Did you ever use grenades in combat?
yeah, I have.
What kind of circumstances would you use grenades?
Well, when the Germans were in the dugout, when we were in D-Day, oh, this is going way ahead, but when the Germans were dug in, you couldn't use them more than anything, so we would use the hand grenades. During the the hedgerows, during the hedgerow fight, I was thinking about, we use the hand grenades a lot at where we thought the enemy fire was coming from. Sometimes you could see them, sometimes you couldn't. And when they stop firing, you move forward, so you know that they were either wounded or killed one or the other. No, the Germans, I'll say one thing, they were damn good fighters, the Germans, but like the Japs, they'd come right up to you and they would never give up, but the Germans, they would fight till the end.
Can you tell me, you were in Company L.
Yeah.
But you were in the weapons platoon.
Yeah, well, Company L is a light weapons company.
The entire company.
Half of it was infantry, and the other half was mortars and light machine guns.
And which one were you in charge of?
I was in charge of, well, both of them after John was killed. I had the machine guns, and Burley, the son that came out, he had the machine gun. But we changed over a lot.
So, talk to me about the difficulty of fighting in the hedgerows.
We had we just couldn't, they had us pinned down half the time. And that's when, this one afternoon, we were having a heck of a time getting through. They dug under the hedgerows, and we were starting to lose a lot of guys. And all of a sudden we heard a tank coming behind us, and that whoever was driving it, he must have been wide open, and it had, they put blades on the front to hit the hedgerows, and boy, we got out of the way. when he hit them hedgerows, there was dirt, rocks, trees, everything. And when he made a hole, we moved into it, onto the hedgerows. And that was our blessing when they had those tanks do that.
What weapon did you carry in combat, Mr.
I
Staley?
had everything. I liked the grease gun. When I got the Silver Star, that's the gun I used on that one. And I've had, I can use a rifle, 45, just about everything. And if you lost your weapon somehow, you had no problem. They were, everywhere there. You could pick whatever you want. And I carried a little 50 German caliber machine gun, mortar around for, I guess, a couple months. And we just had about 3. We never used it, but somehow we kept it there. And it was kind of funny, the guys were all teasing me about it. What are you going to do with that little thing there? But anyway, that was the way it was. Yeah, the hedgerows, that was some of the toughest fighting that we had, without a doubt.
Pretend I don't know anything about the hedgerows. What were they?
Well, they were the Germans instead of putting fences around their land after, because when Germany took over
Oh, that's right.
France, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and then they had the French people make these, what they call hedgerows. The bottom was out of rock and dirt. And then they had them plant trees and to keep the neighbors' cattle off their land. And it worked out. See, we were at a disadvantage because the Germans knew all about the hedgerows, where it was, and dug underneath, which is very smart. They'd shoot over, and then they'd dug under the hedgerow, I think most of the night, and so you'd see them, your bullets coming about waist high or so, and then when they got you in the field, then they had all these through the holes in the bottom of the hedgerows. I never heard many guys talk about that, but that happened a lot with us when we first started.
Talk to me about going from one hedgerow to another. What would you have to cross?
A field. A field maybe of a couple acres, what the biggest one.
And what would happen as you guys would go from one hedgerow to another?
Well, they were shooting at us, with the machine guns. And we, after the tank came and went through there, we had our artillery. We'd stop and wait. The artillery would knock out, the ones using the hedgerow. Our artillery, I don't know what we'd have ever done without them. Boy, they saved our butts so many times.
When you would cross the open field, what's it like to have bullets coming at you? What is that like, Mr. Staley?
Can't describe it even. You just ignore it and hope one don't hit you. That's about the best I can say. Like I say, in September, first and second September, and there was only 2 of my original guys that landed on D-Day in our company. You just know you got to go forward and take care of the enemy. It was you or them, and you immune yourself to it, to the fact that you see all the guy next to you get killed or ahead of you and around. You just knew that you had a job to do and make sure that you got whoever did the killing You know, that's just the way combat was. I never, you get so used to it that I wouldn't say that you didn't think about it, but you knew you had a job to do. You just, you see the guys being killed, like when I had wounded on November 11th or something. I had 11 guys left. I get across the road, and I was looking on the back of a shed, and a mortar shell came down, and I think 7 or 8 of them were killed. It was rain. I remember a guy who came up in the farmyard with a yellow slicker on, and the mortar shell came and hit right in front, right at his feet, just blew him a bang. And so it's, like I say, I can't describe to you. All you goes through your mind that if you don't move, you're going to get killed. And so you just, did everything you could. So.
Can you talk to me about some of your experiences under German artillery?
Well, I'll tell you why I have a bad stomach. We had taken Hill 194, and it was very important to the Germans, because I'll back up on this. The night before that we were going to attack to take this hill, and the only time that during my service, what do you call the religious guy, the pastor?
Chaplain.
The chaplain came out, and he read the 23rd Psalm to us. He gave us a copy of it, and because he knew that it was going to be a tough one to get there. So I always remember that. So we got to the top of the hill, and it was unbelievable how many mortars and machine gun shells that we shot. And so the one afternoon, we dug pretty big foxholes, and we could look down. And the 5th, we didn't know which one it was, but the 5th Division artillery had moved in down below, and all of a sudden here comes cannon fire from off on our, well, should I say, a right flank, instead of straight there. And so we jumped in my foxhole, and another kid that just joined us, my platoon from Detroit, he jumped on top of me, and it lit him off from here to you. And he come out of there babbling. I don't know what happened to him ever after that. And so the guys, after they got the firing stopped, they come over and started digging me out. I was still buried in the bottom of my foxhole. And so they dug me out, got me out of that. And till this day, I don't know what happened. I don't remember his name or anything, but I felt so sorry, because if he hadn't jumped in on top of me, I'm sure I probably wouldn't be here. Just another one of those deals. That's the one, he come out babbling and everything from the concussion of the shell landing so close. And he got up and started running down the hill, and one of the guys, I don't know who, tackled him, and he was, his mind was completely shot,
He was shell-shocked.
Shell-shocked, exactly. And I often wondered, even to this day, what happened to him, whether he ended up in a hospital or became you know, I don't know what happened, but we got a lot of friendly fire. I mean, a lot of them will, I don't know if they'll tell you that in interviews that we had a lot of friendly fire during in the Seeds area, which took 11 days. We had a cannon fired short, landed in our guys, and they stopped them. They're supposed to have changed it. Next day, same thing happened again. And we lost only 3 or 4 guys and on that one deal. So it's just what happened.
Were you ever strafed by the German Luftwaffe?
No, but now that I'll tell you a story about, and we took an afternoon town of Curling, Kerling. In France, we crossed the Moselle River, and we were going across the field and skirmish. I mean, just like in the book. And I'd get artillery fire. As we looked ahead, you couldn't see. We knew there was a village there. And you could see a steeple from the church. So then the company commander, and I was up by him, and I said, and we talked about the only way they could tell that where the fire that they did is to have somebody, a spotter in the church steeple. The second shot is hard to believe. Was our artillery unit was at least 4 miles behind the Moselle River. Second shot blew the steeple off, and we went and took the town. And so that night, I got the guys set up, and I put my guys in a building where I had a haymow, and I didn't know it was a barn. And I remember a big sliding door and the hay. Well, the Germans counterattacked that night. Oh man, they just took prisoners and everything, and out of 144, if we were up, there's 29 of us that got back down to the river. And when I took went with Scott and Norm, I was telling them about curling, and I said that, about the building. There's the third building on the right as you go into the village, and the building's still there. It's the only old building left in this town of Curling. If you ever get to France, you go to Curling, and I found out it was a bar, farmer's barn, and they have a plaque on it now, and dedicated to the men of Company L, a platoon and everything. And as far as I know, it's still there. And then when we counterattacked it, General Bell, I think he's still alive. He won the Medal of Honor. They're the retaking of this village.
What do you remember about Hill 122?
All I remember was that we were pinned down, moving forward, and a couple times we had a strategic retreat, and there was guys, we lost a lot of guys, you probably heard that, taking Hill 122. I was back there this couple years ago, and
what was the strategic importance of Hill 122?
Because when you were on top of Hill 122, you could see all the way to the beaches in Normandy, and so the Germans they could see us, the invasion people from this hill, and direct artillery fire on them, and it was very important that we took Hill 122.
How would you guys go about taking the hill? The Germans had the high ground.
Yeah,
How
well,
did you guys go about
well,
taking
we just start firing, directed mortar fire on the hill, and when they would stop for the ammunition, we'd advance, and that way we worked till we got the top of it. And it was smaller than that 194 where I was buried in the foxhole. Yeah, it's quite famous over there, I guess. I didn't realize it till just a few years ago.
it? Do you remember any specific instances of the fighting on Hill 122?
Just the fact that, like I say, we would call and then they would heavy fire. We had to stop. Sometimes we had to back up. And another thing was to get ammunition up there for us. Ammo carriers would be under heavy fire. So we'd be there. We had no weapons, bullets for our weapons, let's put it that way. So we would have to either dig in or back up. It took us quite a while to get to the top of it. Something real funny. Our lieutenant was named Clyde A. Cortez, Mexican. He was quite a character. And we had been in a firefight for about 2 days, and that in the evening we stopped at a place where there was a little grove of trees, and we started digging, and Clyde Corley came by. He says, "Men getting out, we are moving out." Oh God, we were mad. We said, "God, we just got here." And he says, "We got 4 miles to go." And so we packed up, we went, and here we end up in the schoolhouse. And in the school, I know a battalion commander who was 2 kegs of Luxembourg beer. So they had the bunghole, to get the beer out. And so we got out of this 1 barrel, and everybody started drinking. We had our canteen cups there. And Clyde Cortez always had, he thought he was like Patton, he always had 2 guns on him, 245. And he had the guys in the school, they set a target up, and they were throwing knives at this target. You go down the hallway, shing! And so the guys, we finally got them to stop doing that. And we had this 1 keg left, and the guys were trying to get the bunghole out. And he says, "Stand back, man." He pulled his 2 guns out and blasted the heck out of this barrel. Beer was coming out. We all put our cups under there. We could have killed him. We were so mad. And he was something. That was one of the funny stories. I have 2 buddies of mine who were both snipers in the South Pacific, and they don't talk about it. They won't tell you what their thinking was. But yeah, when you hear a zing go by you, you know it's a sniper.
Talk to me about your experiences against landmines.
We never had much trouble. I don't recall. I don't know if I ever lost any guy in my platoon to a landmine. Either they didn't have time to mine it or something, but I had no problem with it.
Were you ever caught in a minefield?
No. To be honest about it, no, not that I know. No.
Can you tell me about the river crossings that you made? Were any of them under German fire?
Well, I'll tell you about, I don't talk about it. When we crossed the Saar and the Moselle, birds in the Germans broke the dams up above Dillingen in Germany. And so we had some, they were Navy uniform to put us across the river. It was at least maybe more than a quarter of a mile. And when they got everybody, and dawn came, this was the night, and the night before, they had told me, and there was a railroad bridge that was blown out, and there's 3 arches. Head for the middle arch, then go right and go up a hill. They had it all down there. So when I got ready to get my platoon, the guys that were putting them across refused to take us across. And so I went to the guy and I said, we got to get over there. I asked him, I said, how deep is the water? He says, oh, I don't think over a waist deep. So I said, come on, guys, we're walking across there. And they kind of rebelled at first. I said, when you get there, head for the middle arch. We get partway there, and the Germans had people on this bridge that was broken down, destroyed, and they start shooting. And I had a kid with I think, machine gun, one of the staff sergeants. And he started veering off to the right, and I kept hollering at him. I said, you're going the wrong way. I said, go to the march. So I was hollering, and you could see the Germans over on the shore. They were shooting them the missiles the screaming Mimis. And he kept going. Finally, I put 2 shots as close to him as I could. And finally, I got his attention. We get in, we got across the ridge, went through the arc, up the hill, and I went in the school building, and Captain Nelson was in a school desk or something, writing, and he looked up at me, and he said, where the hell have you been? I told him, I said, the story. I said, they wouldn't put us across, and he apologized then. He said, I'm sorry, and I jumped your butt. He said, that was pretty good. I said, okay. And we were 3 days without food or water because they were in the town of Dillingen. Every night I'd take a platoon down, try to get across to get somebody to get some food and stuff. They would send up flares and white phosphorus. And never did get across. And then all of a sudden, we found ourselves moving. That was at the beginning of the bulge. That's where we were. And we lucked out. I had the guys dispersed. They were staying 10, 15 feet apart. And so this, like I say, this only one that started to screw up. I told the company commander about it, and he says, well, we won't do none. I said, I could have lost my whole daggone platoon if I went where he had told me. Did you hear about the place cap? Where I think 20-some thousand German prisoners all afternoon, they come out of there, and they were prisoners, but if you took a village, I personally had taken some, but we didn't take too many prisoners, not my outfit. Maybe some of them did, I don't know.
In your experiences in combat, is it usually just firing in a general area?
Yeah, most of the time. Most of the time you didn't even see them, especially if you're firing to knock out artillery. You don't even see them. You'll see them around the cannon, but in a firefight, and they're like through the hedgerows, for example, you didn't even see the enemy. You would see the general area the fire's coming from, and then you'd call in artillery mortar or whatever. But, I mean, I was not a true, infantryman as a rifleman, even though I did carry once in a while. But I've heard them all kinds of stories. Them guys were telling it, and I just sit there, and what can you say? You shot in the general direction, or you see the German running, and you would fire at him. Sometimes you don't know if you kill him or not, but as you went, they quit firing, and you just kept going.
Did you ever experience house-to-house fighting?
A few times.
Where was that?
I hated it. I hated it.
Take me through. What would house-to-house fighting? What would happen?
Well, I'll just tell you about one incident. I had a German that was, I don't know if he was a sniper or what, but in a small village, he started going into this village, and so I followed him, and I watched him go in a building, and so I waited till I had some guys on the outside, and I kicked the door down, and as I walked through the doorway, some instinct told me to duck. I did. He hit me with his rifle on my shoulder, ran out of the building, and my guys mowed him down. And that's one of the few times. But another one at, I can't think of the Mets. We took a big building, and unknown to us, upstairs, that was a training place for the Germans, elite one. We had the bottom half of the building, they had the top half. And we didn't know they were up there till finally when the guys started calling in to take the town of Metz. They captured, I don't know how many were up above us. It surprised the hell out of us. Here we'd been there for, I don't know, quite a few hours. They were quiet, I guess. Here we found out that we were alone in the building. It was just once in a while. Not to make a big deal about, to me, I don't know.
Now, you told me the story when the guy hit you with the rifle.
Yeah.
You said that was one of a few times. What do you mean, one of a few times?
Well, I mean, a lot of the times I've followed them into towns with all my guys. We'd go in a building, and the same way at the L.Staley one that most of when you were in the building, the Germans gave up most of the time.
What would happen the other times?
No, the other time, some of the guys would shoot them, and I don't know, I just couldn't shoot, even though they are the enemy. My job was to kill them, get rid of them, but in some circumstances, I just couldn't do it. And I know what a German major one time was wounded, and all the guys said, "Let's take out, we'll shoot him." I said, "No, not on my watch." And the company commander came, I turned him over to him, and he said that, that German major could talk English. I said, no. I'd go over and look at him. He was by a building, and I said, no. I said, I didn't want to do it. I gave him to you. And I said, what'd you do with him? He says, I didn't kill him either. I sent him back to where our prisoners, we're holding our Germans prisoners. So, but that went on, we didn't think anything about it day after day,
Did you ever go into the basements? Or did you ever throw grenades in the basements?
Well, most of the houses in the village I was at didn't have basements mostly. See, we didn't go in the houses very much, not as a machine gun and mortar. Usually when you get a village, we'd be on the outskirts protecting, blocking a road or something like that. You're ready. And you go from a room to a room, you would know that you shoot first or you're dead. So
what would you do before you would enter the house?
Well, depends where you enter. I've entered them through the windows, and sometimes through the door. Just like anywhere, like a policeman looking.
I always thought you would throw grenades first.
Very seldom, because you wouldn't know if your own men were in there. So, in my recollection, I don't recall anybody throwing a grenade in there unless we knew that building, then they would throw grenades.
You mentioned you entered through a window. Was that on the second story or the first story?
First, mostly. Just a big building. You go, it's easy as to crawl beside the building, go in the window where they didn't expect you, I guess. So, I don't know.
Talk to me about your living conditions in combat.
Bro, you had your backsack with your K rations at first and stuff, and you would get, after a firefight, you'd sit down, eat. You didn't have hot food, but longest it went was 3 days, 3 nights, what I was telling you, at Diligent, and I don't know.
Where did you guys usually sleep?
In a foxhole a lot. A lot of times you'd lay down in the forest, and we tried to stay away from, the winter you couldn't. We went from village to village more or less because it was snow up here, yang, cold. When we relieved the 35th Division guys, telling us you guys wouldn't go get through there. I know we just slept sitting up against a tree or something. We didn't,
Did you have any experience? Oh, how long did you go without a shower?
Our first shower was in June. Toward the end of June, we were. No, it was July when the general was killed. I remember who it was.
McNair?
Yeah, one of them. They made a big deal about it, and they came and they put a canvas around, and in back of it they had benches, and they said you got, 5 minutes, 1 bucket of water. The guy stood on the benches behind and poured the water on you. You half of it to rinse it out, and the other half, and that's what the shower was. You didn't get very clean.
Did you have any experiences with tree bursts?
With what?
Tree bursts.
Oh, that was during the mulch.
Talk to me about your experiences with the tree bursts.
I didn't have that much, but we had a lot of them. The cold weather, the Germans would shoot into the trees and blow the tree, and the splinters would go. They were pretty smart on that, and there for first couple of weeks, we had quite a bit of that. That was in the forest.
talk to me about any experiences you had against German tanks.
Well, scared the hell out of you one day. Yeah, well, we had, I've had fire as, in Curling. I was running down to the river, and they were firing armor shells, and them things like a train going by, whoom, and they were just, finally we realized that we were being up on the ridge, and we stood out like a sore thumb, so we went down below, and that was the end of the artillery.
How close did the German tanks get to where you were?
Well, a few times when we were dug in, they combined to know we were there, maybe 40, 50 feet. And well, in at the police gap, one of the tanks ran over our company commander's foxhole. He thought it was the Poles, and it was the Germans, not the Poles. But it didn't have that much to my outfit anyhow.
Can you take me through your actions which ultimately led to you receiving the Silver Star?
Yeah, we were pinned down in a field, and they put the name of the town on there, and near Hamburg or something, and we had our mortars set up, and no matter where we called, the Germans would keep firing at us, and so there was a berm in front. We call it a little hill like, but it was nowadays they call it a berm. And so I told the guy in my platoon, I had my walkie-talkie, I said, there's something wrong. I'm going to go up there, but it's hill, and see what the heck there is there. And as I was calling, I was off this way, head across in front, and Captain Nelson says, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going up here to see why our mortar isn't doing any good." Well, I got up to where the berm was. I just reached the top of it. I had my K-47 or whatever it was. As I looked over to my right, and here was a German wounded, and he was about 2 feet from a machine gun, and you could see the belt. So I took my gun, and in my excitement, I think I had about 27 shells in. So he was a mess when I emptied it, and 4 Germans jumped out of a brush in the back with their hands up. So here I got 4 Germans over here. I got this one here. If I had got where I did, we probably would have lost. How many men, I don't know, if he'd have got to that machine gun. And so that's the story. I mean, this didn't happen in 5 minutes or anything. It took a while. And I didn't think anything about it. About, God, it seemed like 2 months later, I don't know, general or somebody called out and awarded me and 2 other guys a Silver Star. I didn't even remember what it was for. One thing it was kind of funny, my helmet came down over and hit my nose, and I had blood coming out, and I guess I was a mess. And a colonel, I don't know where he came from, I was laying there, and he looked on me, he said, "Boy, soldier, you're one hell of a looking mess," or something. Made some remark about it. And the company commander, he came and he gave me a big hug, I remember that till this day. And he had tears in his eyes. And he says, boy, it's a good thing you did what you did. I said, well, something had to be done. So I didn't think anything about it. That's all.
And this is how you got the Silver Star.
Yeah.
The German who you shot, the one who was wounded by
Yeah.
the machine gun, how close were you to him?
About from here, the road out there. He was, well, not even that, but maybe 50 feet or something. Yeah, he was here, and the berm was here. I'm over here, maybe from here in my backyard. I was right 50 feet from him or something. And when I pull the trigger, you hold it to hold whatever's loaded up will come on. They said he was one mess. That's all I heard about it.
What do you mean you heard about it? Didn't you see it?
Huh?
Didn't you see it?
Yeah, well, I knew I was hitting them. Yeah, but in my excitement, I didn't realize I emptied my gun on him. I blew the machine gun apart, too.
Was he crawling towards the machine gun?
Yeah, he was putting her up to use it. He was wounded. And I'll say one thing, he was a brave guy. Because if he'd have got up there and them guys got ready to go over the hill with that machine gun, he'd have, I tell how many guys they would have annihilated.
And so he's on his way to the machine gun, and then after you knock him out, what happens?
Well, then, in back of there's some brush and woods, and 4 Germans come out with white flags. Now, and surrendered, where they could have shot me, because I stood up to look at him, and so I had these 4 out there. I had him completely annihilated. I didn't think anything about it, just another job. And when they called out, they said, what did I do now? The general said it and read off what happened.
He read the citation.
Yeah. And so the guys all said, good going, Sarge, and back to war.
Did you know that those 4 Germans were hiding there?
I didn't know they were there. No. It surprised the heck out of me. I thought, when I saw them step out, I thought, boy, I'm going to be a goner. And my platoon, by that time, had reached over the berm. And so I guess my company took them. I don't remember what happened after everything was done with, it was probably a half to an hour that we went there before this. I got up there to see why we were having a problem. Well, back of the berm, the Germans had dug it out, and it was face like that, so that's why with our mortar shells, they weren't hitting where they were, because you go over the berm, they had it dug out, and they were right up against the berm. So we figured that out after. If you ever get to Curling, go downtown, 3rd building, there's 4th one, because they put a new building. And by the way, the steeple was white. When we went, they got a steeple black. And I talked to a Frenchman in this village, and I told him, I said, the story, I said, that used to be white. He said, yeah, you guys knocked it out during the war. I said, he says, I'm a little kid. I said, yeah, you remember that, huh? It's one of those things, didn't think too much about it. The guys were getting their feet frozen during the Battle of the Bulge. and I'm from Minnesota, and I would cut cardboard up and newspaper and anything to put in my shoes. So I did that to them guys if on the village had anything like cardboard or anything. And a lot of them says, oh, this is, if I get my feet froze, then I can get out of in the war. Well, a lot of gangrene set in. They lost their feet. And I kept telling them, I got an award for that, not a medal, but like company commander, I think to our battalion. I don't know where it is either now, but the commendation, they call it, for saving the guys from not having frozen feet.
When you were in the weapons platoon, would you act as a forward observer for the mortars?
I had to set up the mortars and give them the coordinates and all that, yeah.
What kind of targets would you go after?
Mostly German mortars
How
and
do
machine guns. And German machine guns. You couldn't see them maybe, but you knew what area they were coming from. So we set them up. They said the average life of a machine gunner in combat was 17 minutes. And we lost a lot of guys.
Usually the men who you lost, was it from small arms fire or from artillery and mortars?
Mostly small arms. We lost a lot of guys from artillery because the Germans, when we would fire our mortars and whatnot, they would get the coordinates too, and then they'd call for artillery. A lot of times they would go overhead, sometimes in front of us. Just the way it was.
What was the closest a German shell landed to you?
Well, on the hill 194, where I told you about the kid, I said I would say maybe 4 or 5 feet. When it landed beside, all I remember is dirt and things were firing. My head was ringing, and then I remember the kid getting off me and running. Next thing, the guys were digging me out of there. So I didn't get a Purple Heart for that one, though, because I had no visible wounds.
What is that like, Mr. Staley, to have shells going off around you?
Just hope it don't hit me. lay low.
Did you pray in combat?
Well,
I'm sorry, you drink your water first.
I'll tell you, anybody that says they didn't do some praying and whatnot is a damn liar. Well, that's the truth. Okay, after we got going into Paris, they stopped us, and the 2nd Free French Armored Division went through us into Paris. They took us around, and we were just north of the town of Reims, where she has a hotel or something. Well, that night, there was big fields of potatoes. The Germans had the French, I don't know, for some reason, plant all these potatoes. And so this evening, you remember I was in Texas, Oklahoma. There's all these guys on ranch and butching. Well, the farmer's cow wandered in. And the guy says, hey, let's build a fire. And the different guys, they dug up potatoes. We killed and butchered the guy's cow. We had a heck of a good feast with potatoes, and next day, or maybe next one after, company commander says, I got bad news for her. He says, what's that? He says, that farmer wants $80, so we say, for his cow. He said, so the colonel told him that you have to come up with this $80. And he said, well, where are we going to get the $80? He said, take out of your company fund. And Captain Nelson said, I hate to tell you, we don't have a company fund. And Helen thinks that's hilarious. But I think our government paid the farmer, though. Oh, we really had a feast with steak with meat on it, potatoes.
Do you remember crossing the river, or not crossing? You were fighting along the Douve River.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember anything specific about the Douve River?
Well, the only thing is, we had got across the river, and there was a village, I don't know the name of it, and I had the CP up at that time, and I had a Mexican Melendez, and every time he got drinking or anything, he was always doing crazy things. And towards evening, we heard tanks. The 10th Armored Division just had moved in, so maybe we could tell that by the time. And all of a sudden, some guy come running up. He says, you got to come down. Melendez, we had a nickname for him, is taking a machine gun, shooting at the 10th Armored Division's tanks. Geez, I ran down there, and here he is, and I had tanks shooting at machine gun at these tanks. I said, what the hell are you doing? I jumped on him, got him aside, and the first lieutenant of the 10th Armored Division, they hadn't been in combat. He come out, oh God, was he mad? I said, well, he says, I want to see your company commander. He says, what's your rank? I said, I'm tech sergeant. No, I want to see the company commander. So I went up to where Captain Nelson, he's quite a character. And this guy, I told him what had happened. He said, yeah, I want them guys, want him to be court-martialed. And Captain Nelson making notes. And the guy tell them all about how he didn't want his guys to be shot. I don't blame him. I'd be mad to after he walked out. Old Captain Nelson had the paper he wrote on. So he folded up his head, threw it in the wastebasket, and he started to laugh. And me and him laughed our butt off. We thought it was the funniest thing. It's one of the most important. It's the only mountain around right in that area where they could see the beach.
Did the Germans have artillery up on 122?
No, on the other, yeah, they did it, but they had it on the other side.
Oh, so the observers would
You had to drive them off, because they were dug in on the hill, because it was very strategic point, very important, because they could look down and see the beaches and everything from this hill. That's why it got famous.
What about the crossing of the Rhine River?
Yeah, we crossed with the 4th Armored Division.
Under fire?
No. But after we got across, we went up a hill to a village, and there was a small resort along the river, and so me and another guy, sergeant, found a motorcycle. We went down the hill, and the 4th Armored was coming up, and we loaded up in our blouses, bottles of champagne, stuff. Oh my God, it was worth a fortune, And we started up the hill, and our motorcycle quit. And so we asked it was a cook truck and trailer of the 4th Armored. We asked him if we could put our motorcycle on there, and he said no. He said they'll get gasoline. Oh no, we assured them that no, it wouldn't get no gas. So we got on top of the hill. When we jumped on the motorcycle, he turned it, and it went, and we both fell off, and the bottles of wine when the cognac was, we stunk the place up. And I'd like to, if I'd ever ran into that cook, I think he'd have killed me. He was so bad.
Did you ever pick up souvenirs?
No, I didn't.
I know a lot of guys would go
to when the war ended, I came home, I had 7 pistols, assorted pistols.
Where would you get the pistols from?
Or just go anywhere in the villages or houses, and there was all kinds of stuff. And in Mainz, Germany, I brought home a wrist, ruby wrist, whatever you call it, on the arm, for I gave it to my wife.
When you first came home from the war, I mean, did loud noises bother you?
Yeah. I'd be sitting at the table, and if somebody dropped a plate or something, man, and my wife said that I would talk in my sleep, and I guess I hit her flailing my arms, but I don't remember that. But she told me that sometimes I'd be hollering and flailing the arms, but as time went on, it went away.
Do you remember having nightmares?
I still do.
About the war?
I really do, and I don't. You're the first one that I've said that I do, and I'll be fighting the enemy, and they're running behind trees, and as it got closer, the trees would move back, and railroad tracks, and they'd be coming to a railroad track, and I'm chasing them, and the tracks start getting more and more, and things like that. No, I've never talked to anybody about that before, but, a lot of guys are really bad on it. So
you should know that you aren't the only one. A lot of the veterans who I've interviewed say the exact same thing.
Yeah, they won't. You hate to admit it.
No, but I'm saying you shouldn't be ashamed of it at all.
Yeah, well, you have no control over it. So.
After what you went through, you're pretty. It's fortunate that that's as bad as it gets. Nightmares.
Yeah. Like I said, I shouldn't be here, but I guess God had other things for me.
Mr. Staley, was it common for replacements to be the first ones killed often?
Oh, well, yeah. When right after D-Day, and we went back from the 4th, we were losing men every day, almost, replacements. Sometimes my motor squad would be down. We didn't even have enough guys to carry ammunition. I think pretty any combat unit was that way.
You mentioned in the beginning of the interview that you provided first aid quite a bit.
Yeah.
Did you guys not have medics or everyone?
Yeah, well, we had, and all the time, I love medics. Most of them were kids, and I've seen just one medic. It was not long after D-Day that broke down. It was in the Seas area, and everybody was hollering, medic, medic. And that poor kid just put his head down on the ground, he pulled on the ground, and he says, I can't handle it anymore. That was only one. And I saw that it got him.
So when you would go around providing first aid, you told me the story about Hammond. What were the other kind of wounds that you could help?
Oh, well, mortar wounds like Merle and Fenimore, legs, a lot of body, shoulders, legs, limbs, what I could patch up, if you get with that tour like John is, it was tough to look at somebody's guts laying out, and then telling you he's going to make it. That I often think that was hard to take. That's why he became a friend of mine.
How old would you say he was?
That's about 23, 24.
He was just a kid when
Yeah, just a kid. Yeah, all of them were. They called me the old man.
How old
because
were you?
I was 20. I see when I left the South Pacific, I was 24, I think. So I was called the old man. Yeah, well, I've had a lot of times when the guys were killed or badly wounded around me, and not only me, other guys, and you just look at them, well, so here I am, got to get the enemy. You just keep on going. You know, I can't explain it. It's not that you want to be, well, you figure if you don't, you're going to join them, so if you kill them before they kill you, I guess that's the attitude.
Did you feel like it was ever going to end?
It didn't. It seemed like that after about we got up into January. I was discharged in Czechoslovakia, and I never even thought of, I suppose I did, but the war was going to end. Everybody figured we would go on until we got in the headquarters of Germany, you know, or take over Germany. So it's kind of hard to explain.
When you were in England, did you ever get the buzz bombs?
Oh, in Plymouth, England was practically destroyed by. You could see them coming overhead after D-Day even. The sun would be shining. You could see them going over. We didn't know what they were at first, you know.
But were you guys ever under attack where you were?
No, they were way up in their head for England, most of them.
What do you remember about the destruction done to the German towns and cities?
Just, I don't know. You just didn't think about it, you know, like in Perrier, for example, and now another beautiful town that was the 357th, I think, is Mayenne, and I was back there. Such a beautiful city. They've rebuilt it. You wouldn't know a war had been there. And the town was practically destroyed. It's about 15,000 population. And so
when you say destroyed, though, what do you mean? What do you see?
the buildings are devastated. Artillery just blast them. And homes in Paris, like in where Norbert lives, in Belgium way, the one house. And that was a milk house for a dairy farm. And they rebuilt the village. They joined the village, which was about a mile or so away. And they never rebuilt this town again. And he's got a monument up about the 90th division he made by himself. It's out in just about from here to his house over there, from where his home. I know how he spent quite a few years making this monument, Norbert. It was sometime in June, and I was, I think, corporal or something, and we got in a firefight, and we were out of ammunition, so the company commander, or whoever it wasn't Nelson, told me to pick out two guys and go back and seek Charlie Company. So I said, okay, so the three of us started going back, and there was a ditch about from there to you, and I jumped across it first, and the second guy to go across, the Germans had a machine gun up on our right. We didn't know it was there. And that's when he got shot in the groin, came out his rear end. He thought he'd lost his family jewels or something. And so I, my hair on the other side, I told him guys I'm motion because I want to talk. I said, so he took the one guy that got hit, the other guy back. So here I am on this side, and I'm calling through, there was grass and stuff. And finally I heard American voice, and it was a company that we were supposed to see, and there was a book sergeant. He come over, and when I stood up and hollered American, the look on his face, I mean, he just, where the hell did you come from? And then I told him the story. So anyway, the company merged and gave him ammunition. We went forward.
Now, the second you were able to go over the ditch, the second guy got hit in the thigh.
Yeah.
What happened to the third man?
Yeah, well, he had him pull and carry this guy back, drug him back to where the guys were.
But did you give first aid to that man first?
Oh, no, I was on the other side.
I see. I see.
Yeah,
You were wounded.
yeah,
How many times?
twice. Well, we were, I was laying down, I guess, looking to binoculars or something to direct fire for my crew as I remember it. I don't remember exact details on it. I know on the second time in November, was directed my troops to get across the road, and this mortar shell come over to, I think it was a garage or something out in the farm, and the guy with the yellow slicker, I told him what, he came
Yellow
up.
what?
He was wearing a yellow slicker, the old rain joke, because it was late rain, and he said something. Right then the mortar hit right in front of him, and blew the hell out of him, I guess. Killed him instantly.
And the other men?
And some of the other guys, out of whatever I had left in the building, I think there were 11 of us. Every one of us got hit, but I probably the least, because I was the closest to this window where I could see the road to tell the guys to cross over.
You were in a building yourself.
Yeah, with just a small part of my other ones were a head off to the side, kind of cut off, and there was a road going by, and I was getting them to run across the road to join the rest of my company, and half of them was here, half was there. I wanted these guys here to meet the guys over here. I'm in the middle looking through the back window of the building. Then two hand signals, I'd tell them, move, go like this, and they cross.
And then you saw one man in a yellow...
Yeah, he come up the driveway, and just that's when the mortar hit, and I apparently turned my head, so I got that. I got there, I got still a piece of shrapnel in my shoulder,
See,
about the size of a dime.
Mr. Shea, where were you hit by the mortar fragments the second time?
The second time, my knee, my shoulder, my face. I got a piece of shrapnel in my face yet.
What life advice do you want to give to future generations?
Well, we used to go around at schools in Washington birthday and give them a picture and talk to the kids. And my advice to them was to get an education, number one. Do what is good, take care of your fellow man, and go be a good citizen, and that's about all you could tell 'em.
If you were to give me
Oh, that's okay.
If you were to give me some wisdom for my life, what would you tell me?
About the same thing. Keep going up and being honest. I hate anybody that steals. My dad taught me that. I said, never steal from friends or neighbors or enemy or anybody. That's one thing. And I said, I want to impress on you to get an education. That's one thing that I've always dwelled on, because I only had 2 years of college, but I went on a scholarship for baseball and Gustavus Adolphus in south of Minneapolis. And that's what I just said. Lead a good life, treat your neighbors right. I know the first time that school principal was at that one on Churn Creek Road, Trinity or whatever it is. He said, now, before you leave, I want you to address the students and tell them how you should go up and everything. It took me a big surprise. So I said, what the hell am I supposed to say? And so, same with Bob. And we just told him that, just like a preacher would tell you, I guess. That's about that. Some guy said the voice they would hear when they're in combat, tell them everything's going to be all right. I never had that happen, anything like that, but I always believed that some divine, I forget what word to use.
Intervention.
Yeah, right. It was with me, and as I told Helen Patton, we were talking one time, and that's what Helen says. If I knew something that you survived, in your life, and so that's all.
Do you believe that there's a higher being like God?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I believe that. I'm not what you call a religious man, but I go to church. I don't right now, but I've gone down. But my wife, mother was a very religious woman. She lived with us for 7 years. She knew my mother, which I never did. And every night in bed, she would read out of the Bible to Dory and I and my son.
What kind of person do you want to be remembered as, Mr. Staley?
Well, one thing is an honest person. That's my top priority for that, and just the fact that I was a good person, and that's what all I asked for. And I just I tried to live up. My old saying was, and I've told Melissa when she found everybody, I said, I'm not a great believer in knocking a person when they're down. I believe in helping them, at least trying to, but I have that motto that I will never discard or forget and not help somebody when they're down and out, if they'll try to change their ways. If they don't, then I just say that's up to you, but that's one thing that I have stressed. But maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
Do you want to be remembered as a World War II hero?
No, not just another soldier. There's so many guys that came and did things that, weren't in the right place at the right time, so they got no recognition. I could tell you a dozen, well, maybe not that, and I should never be here. Somebody was looking out for me. I always said, maybe it was my mom. The guys were wounded badly and killed all around me, and I just twice got a little mortar shrapnel.